to thank you for taking time out of your day to learn a little bit more about Mustang method horseshoeing. When I say that, you're probably like, well, what does that mean? Mustang method horseshoeing has been derived from years of observation on the North American Mustang and the way that they naturally wear their own hooves. If you want to learn a little bit more about the history of Mustang method horseshoeing, you can go to our website, mmshoeing.com, and we'll have a video up there of Roger Davis, the founder, talking about shoeing thousands of horses the traditional way and then realizing that it's not the way that the horses would naturally wear their own hooves. Hence, he came up with the Mustang method, where in the Mustang method we try to imitate the way that a Mustang would naturally wear its hooves in the wild. There's three foundational pillars that we're going to talk to you about today. One is breakover, two are the angles of the hooves, and three is the base of support. Talking about breakover, number one. Breakover is the point where a shoe or a hoof would come into contact and then pivot on the ground, making the turn for movement. So when we talk about breakover, one thing that we want to really stress is the point of breakover on a hoof. The easiest way to illustrate that is in human terms. Let's say I was going to go out for a run this afternoon. I probably wouldn't want to wear this boot to go running. If you see, the boot's point of breakover is actually way out here in the front of the boot. So when it's going to cross on a flat or pivot on a flat surface, it's going to be hitting way up there to pivot, right? Now they actually have improved this boot a little bit where they do have a little bit of an angle of breakover. However, the perfect shoe for me to use when I'm running is a tennis shoe. Not only is it lighter, but you can see how much more aggressive the breakover is on this shoe. There's almost a 45-degree angle on the toe there that will allow for maximum efficiency when turning in that pivot. That's the easiest way to explain breakover, and that is one of the foundational principles to Mustang method horseshoeing. Okay, so back to our discussion on breakover. The way that we implement that in a horse's hoof is we're going to take almost a 45-degree angle and we're going to bring it back here to the white line almost, right across the front of the hoof here. Essentially making this horse's hoof turn from a work boot into a nice running shoe. Now you can see if we had left this hoof on the front of the horse, the point of breakover would be all the way up here. But by removing this point of the hoof right here and then rasping it back all the way to the white line, we've essentially moved the point of that breakover on the horse's hoof back almost a half an inch. This is what we're trying to accomplish. The Mustangs that would come off of the desert, sometimes their breakover would be back all the way into the white line. Okay, so when we talk to you about base of support, what we're talking about is each of these legs is going to have a point where the most support or the foundation is being held. If you follow the cannon bone down on this leg, if you follow it straight down through the hoof capsule, you want your heels to line up exactly where that cannon bone would hit, providing the most secure and stable base of support. And what happens is, when you don't have a Mustang method trim and the hoof capsule is moved forward, your base of support will move forward as well. And imagine trying to run with your base of support moved all the way up here in front of this bone. You're going to be stretching tendons and all kinds of stuff that's not good for the horse. Okay, so you might say, I understand breakover in the trim, but how does that fit into the shoeing application? Well, when you put a typical shoe on a horse, we've always been taught you hold the shoe out to the front edge of the hoof. The work boot, that's your work boot. You're not going to be getting your maximum breakover. You're going to be working way too much forward. So if you slide that shoe back, you can see we've essentially created another angle here, allowing for maximum breakover. So in the Mustang method, we have a certain degree that we will slide the shoe back on the hoof. And not only, if you watch, not only are we providing maximum breakover, but we're also going to be moving that base of support, the back of the heels, back on the shoe as well. Talk about hoof angle. There's an optimum angle that we found on the Mustangs out of the desert on their front hooves, and there's an optimum angle on their hind hooves as well, which will allow them to work with the most efficiency and the least amount of work to make that breakover that we were talking about earlier. So when we're trimming a horse, what we'll do is we'll take this hoof gauge and we'll place it on here, and we'll get as close as we can, if not perfectly on, that same angle that we found in the Mustangs out in the wild desert. And that way you can be assured that your horse is going to be performing to its maximum ability.